So, welcome, guys. This is the first episode of Skillshare, and today I'll be your host, John, aka Jansev27. Today we are joined by Alex, who works for our partners and funders, Livelihood. He was kindly offered to share his story today, and we are very excited to have you here. So, once again, hi, Alex. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks, John. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad myself. Pretty interesting day. So, let me know a little bit about your background. So, tell me some stuff about yourself, uh, like with football and also with your career that you're taking on right now.
Okay, so I started first playing football when I was 5. It was kind of forced upon me, I guess, by my family. I've got an older brother, and as soon as I can stand, he used to put me out in the garden, just put me in goal and start shooting at me. So straight away, I kind of knew it was going to be a part of my life. And
Mm.
from there, I just kind of bounced around from team to team. I had never stayed in one place for all too long, and to be honest, I was rubbish. Like, if I'm being truthful, I was shocking. I don't know why anybody ever let me in their team. But maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I joined a team where I had about 4 or 5 friends from school who were already playing for them. And from there, I started to, I really enjoyed my football. I'm not sure if it makes sense, but I kind of played because everybody played. But
Yeah.
when I joined a team with friends, I was like, yeah, I'm enjoying this. And I really started to notice improvements. Uh, yeah, and that was kind of it. I always juggled it alongside school. For me, it was kind of like a break from work. It was a break from parents. Just kind of youth and friends of football, just a game really. So yeah, I was always playing just my local Sunday league team, and then with the lockdown, I was like, I don't want to go to uni yet. I want to take a gap year, and I just thought if I take a gap year, let's see how far I can really go. So I put in a lot of work over the lockdown period. Went on so many trials. I can't even tell you how many teams I went with. But yeah, the last team I went on a trial with, I somehow managed to get in. So here I am.
Oh, impressive, impressive. And what is this team that you play for? If that's
They're
okay.
called, yeah, they're called Red Hill. I think we're like one of the bottom tier semi-pro teams, but I can say I play semi-professional football, so it does make me quite happy.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So, as you said before, so you're 18, so and
Yeah.
you've just recently got onto that semi-pro stage. So, how does it feel to then have that and education and all of these different aspects happening at the same time? Of course, this is somewhat of a new aspect in the sense of now that you've stepped up to a whole another level. How does
Mm.
it feel juggling both of these aspects together, I guess?
It's a bit surreal to be honest with you. So when I never really had a job before. I did refereeing, which I did really enjoy. Like, kind of helped me get in touch with football a bit more. But with the lockdown, when I said I was going to take a gap year, my parents were like, "Not staying at home and then no money for a year just to play football." So I was obviously a bit bummed out by that. But I kind of just went around Crystal Palace. I went to like every pub in the triangle area, and I went in, handed in loads of copies of my CV, and only one of them got in touch with me, and that was one of the Livelihood pubs. So
Mm.
it's been quite good. Like, they've been really understanding with my whole football side of it, and I've just kind of said to them, look, it's just Tuesdays and Thursdays. They're the only days I can't really do. They said, yeah, that's fine. Like, we'll just give you whatever other hours we've got. So yeah, like, it's been okay to juggle it, really. I know. So when the second lockdown happened, obviously I couldn't work at the pub anymore. So once again, my parents were like, "We just want you to find another job." So I've started working at Sainsbury's recently, and
Okay.
that's obviously now a lot harder to juggle 2 jobs and playing football.
Mm. I can
Um,
imagine.
yeah, exactly. So I'm not really sure how that's going at the moment with football just being allowed back on and the pubs just opening. I'm kind of going to see how it works out over Christmas, but like I said, like, I've kind of explained the situation to my managers at Sainsbury's and Livelihood respectively, and they've both like, yeah, don't worry about it, just keep us in the loop, and then happy enough.
Yeah. Okay, that's very understandable. So, like, for anybody that's aspiring to, of course, with semi-pro football, because it's such a tough market of trying to find a level that will not only pay you well enough to carry on playing football, but then for a lot of players, they have to carry on, doing another job. What would you recommend in that aspect of like, is there anything that you do in particular that makes your process much easier to be able to do both things at the same time? Because I know that it's a very tough ask for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, like it really is a tough thing, and like anyone who's playing football, like will appreciate. Like I've often heard people say, kind of like football's the most important, least important thing. If that makes sense. So
Mm,
it's kind of like in relative terms, like there's not much importance to it, but to anyone that cares about it, like it's so important in like so many different ways. And I think a lot of people do kind of get that. So what I'd say to them is just like be straight up. So just when you go in, be like, I really want to work and I do really need this job. And you guys are clearly interested in me, but I do play football. And like, to me, that's an important part. Like for me, I was open with them and I was like, it really does help like my mental health as much as everything else because it does give you a break. And I come in as you get older, I think we all appreciate you just want more independence and like kind of get out of the house a bit more sometimes. So like even with that, I just kind of explained to the manager, I was like, look, I'm 18, I'm looking for my first job, but I do play football. And like, that is a big part of which kind of keeps me sane and keeps me
mm.
well. And everyone kind of gets it. So just be straight up with them is what I'd say.
Okay, very understandable. Now, you was kind of going on the topic of mental health, so I'm just a
Mm.
little bit curious. So, of course, being able to like having so many things to juggle at the same time. Um,
Yeah.
there's definitely going to be problems of trying to figure out what's the best for you and all of these different things. Have you ever had those type of struggles where, it affected you in some sort of mental way, trying to piece things together? Or maybe you had too many things going on at once. How did you deal with these type of things as well?
Yeah, so it wasn't so much with my football, but when so I finished my A levels in March, like I mentioned earlier, but it was kind of all a bit messy with the whole coronavirus. I kind of made a decision about whether I wanted to go to uni straight away, whether I wanted to take a gap year, whether I didn't want to go at all. That was something that I really struggled with. I was lucky that my brother was around and he could help me out with that decision. But at the end of the day, no matter how many people I spoke to, I never felt like I kind of had a solution to it. And
Mm,
like I had a whole list in my room of like all the pros and all the cons. And it got to a stage where any argument someone gave me, so say you were like, "Oh, I think you should go to uni because of this," I could have
mm,
7 or 8 counter arguments to it, and I was just kind of stuck in a cycle. Like I did not know what is going to happen here. But at the end of the day, I just kind of thought I don't really want regrets. I get you can't say
mm,
yes to everything that comes your way, but I just thought if I go to university, I'm going to think, what if I just taken that gap year and kind of see where I could get to with football? And I didn't really want to stay with my Sunday league team for another year. I didn't love it there, but I did want to push myself. I think it's easy to kind of stay somewhere where you feel comfortable, but like, we all grow as people like when we push ourselves. So I just thought if I can't find a team, I'll probably go to uni. And then luckily the week I had to make that decision, I managed to get into Redhill. So it all fell quite well for me. But yeah, it was a situation I really struggled with. Obviously, being stuck in lockdown didn't help at all.
yeah, understandable. So, how is your situation at this current moment? With lockdown happening, a lot of teams are very limited if they're able to train.
Yeah,
The same with a lot of workplaces. A lot of the stuff is happening from home. So, have you been training at home? Have you been training with a team? And the same with work. Are you
yeah,
out at the workplace? Are you working from home? How has that been during lockdown?
yeah. So I did. Sounds a bit crazy, but I did actually have another job. I was just kind of calling people all day, and I hated it. Like any sports person, or to be fair, most people would tell you they can't just sit down all day, and that's what I did. I sat in my room all day in front of the computer just calling people up, and I hated it. And that when we went into this lockdown and the pubs shut and the football stopped happening, that was something that also did really affect my mental health, and it got me down. And
Mm.
that was what prompted me to look for the other job at Sainsbury's. So that straight away gave me a relief. It got me out of the house. It got me away from the computer. Got me talking to people, meeting people. And yeah, I tried to keep up my training. So I've got like one or two friends that stayed around from uni. So we obviously used the government guidelines and just said, yeah, like, let's just meet up, do some football training, go on a run, just anything kind of get us out of the house, keep us active because it's tough in these times.
Okay. So, you definitely spoke about this type of things that, you like to enjoy and you dislike to enjoy. And, you're
Yeah,
still a very young player in the game. You're still only 18.
yeah,
So looking at that aspect, what is kind of like your dream or aspiration for the future for yourself? Of course, I know that it's a tough ask because it's hard to look into the future for a lot of people, but if you
yeah.
had to think of like a dream profession, like, would you still want to pursue predominantly football, or are you looking to go into work? Uh, how do you feel about your future in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think like you mentioned at the start of the show, like everyone wants to be a professional footballer. Like growing up in South London or growing up in London, I think in general, football is such a big part of our culture. Like it's everyone's dream to become a professional footballer. So yeah, still a small part of me does kind of hope out for that, but at the same time, I kind of think I had a coach actually asked me a few weeks ago. He said, like, to you, what is making it as a player? And I just kind of thought, just getting paid to play. And there are a couple of PE teachers at school who they obviously were PE teachers their job, but they played semi-professional football on the side. And I think, like, for me, that would be ideal. Like, if I couldn't make it to a professional standard where I could just do it as my full-time job, to
Mm.
be able to have a substantial job, play semi-professional football and be paid for it on the side, like for me, that would be like ideal.
Yeah, that's a really good point, to be honest. I know exactly what you mean. I've been in a very similar situation, to be honest, as you, at the current position, in the sense of I'm also at semi-pro football, and then I've
Yeah.
got quite a lot of different aspects away from football, which brings me on to the next point, which I was going to say. So how important do you think it is to have a plan B outside of football? Because as you said before, a lot of people aspire to make it into the professional leagues. And for some people, they might be actually good enough, but they might not have the
Mm.
gateway to get there. So how important is it to, have something there in case if things don't work out the way you would want them to be?
And I think it's vital. Like you can't with everything in life, you've got to kind of have a plan B because as you do get older, you notice that things don't always go to plan like as much as you want them to, and as much as we might plan for it. It often kind of doesn't work out that way. I think to have a plan B is vital because I've known so many people who I've definitely thought have been good enough, but I mean, like we said, with everybody wanting to do it, like some people are going to slip through the net, and obviously academies are limited in how many people they can take on. So I do think you should definitely always have a plan B because obviously, ideally, we want the plan A to work out, but just in case it doesn't, and often your plan B could just be staying in school and just getting your grades to get you to the next stage of education. So I'm hoping to go to, or I will be going to Loughborough next September.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
thank you. So I'll be going there to study psychology, but I want to keep playing football. I'll hopefully play for one of their higher up teams. And for me, that does keep the dream of becoming a professional footballer still alive, but it prepared me for that not happening and hopefully sets me up nicely to get a job.
Yeah, that's very well said, to be honest. And I'm guessing if that opportunity came around, that's something different because at
Mm,
that aspect you've got the, financial backing, and then you're also looking at your dream, I guess, at the same time. So
yeah.
but I do get get that, especially as you said, as you mentioned it, I done the same thing in the sense of when I knew that I wanted to do football, but I also wanted the plan B. So I personally also went to university as well. So I know exactly what you mean with that aspect. So another thing I wanted to ask, so as a youth charity, we've got quite a lot of young kids that, as I said before, aspire to go into football and are put into these positions. So, is there
Yeah.
anything that you would personally say, or like, there's anything that you would like to say on the topic to like inspire these type of kids of what they might want to know? Some things they might not know that you know. Is there anything that you would say in particular for that aspect?
Yeah, I think just keep kind of plugging away at it. That was something I had to do, and like, yeah, it hurts at times, but you get knocked back, like, you get injuries. Sometimes you're like, I just can't be bothered to do it. It's on a cold morning. I still get that now. Just don't want to go anywhere, and sometimes I don't, and I do think I regret it. Just even during the day, I think if they all add up, like, you're not going to get anywhere. So you do kind of have to go through like the pain of it, like
Mm,
feeling tired at the end of a training session, feeling exhausted, not wanting to get up the next day. I think to keep on plugging away, because at the end of the day, if you work hard enough, it is achievable. I know you've got to get the breaks, especially in football, but just keep working hard is all I can say, I guess. Also, refereeing was something I picked up recently, a couple of years ago. And for me, I did feel like I kind of helped my understanding of the game. And a lot of refs I've spoken to, like of all ages, they've kind of said I knew I wasn't good enough to play, so I got into refereeing. And I think for me, that's something I'd like to keep it going. And when I get maybe too old to keep on playing, or say I get injured, which means I can't play anymore,
mm.
I can stay involved in the sport. And I've got a
Okay.
couple of other friends that do coaching just down at the local Sunday league team, and they love it. Like, just once again being involved in the sport, kind of getting teams to try and play how you want, just seeing younger children enjoy it so much. I think even if you're not playing, just being involved in the sport gives me like so much joy, and I know other people really enjoy it as well.
Nice, nice. You see, you've got a plan B for a plan B by the looks of it. So
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive. So I'm going to just ask you the last question, which is, how important is it to have a safe net of financial backing from your other job to then also be able to help you pursue your career at this current moment with sports? Because I know for a lot of people, they're very limited on what they can do with traveling to
Yeah.
games if the team doesn't provide it, or like having kits that you might have to pay when you're at a semi-pro team. So, what are some of the things financially that you're lucky to have because of the fact that you're able to have a second job on the side as well?
Well, really, it gives me like independence. So something that hit me quite hard turning 18 was having to pay for buses and trains and stuff.
Mm,
That's something which is obviously great about the Oyster card scheme, and I'm happy they've kept it going because it does allow you to travel. So it does, having the job does allow me to travel around London and get to places I need to. You can get trains and tubes and buses to most places that you need to within London, even like out of London, like right into the suburbs of like Croydon and stuff. So I
mm,
think having the job, so the main thing it helps me with is having independence, and yeah, like you said, like being able to pay for your kit, buy boots if you want to, kind of invest that little bit more in your game to make you top. So me and my brother would often spend money on like buying those massive Macron kind of size cones, just so we could actually set up a proper training session for ourselves, and we could feel like we are professional, even when we were quite far from it. It makes you feel quite cool to have it all. So yeah, I just think, I wouldn't say I'm much of a materialistic person, but when it comes to football, like, I do find it quite nice to be able to invest in like the equipment, which can like help you take the game to like the next level.
yeah, that's you know what, I don't feel like it's materialistic. I feel like if you feel like if you've got the nice things sometimes, then you feel good on and off the
Yeah,
field. So
yeah,
that's
exactly.
perfectly said. So thank you very much for giving your time to share your knowledge and your wisdom.
Yeah, thank you for
on the
having me.
matter. Of course. Thank you once again. Thank you, and I wish you all the best with your football career, and also with all the other ventures that come along the way. So, once again, this has been the Skillshare. This has been the episode 1. Thank you to Alex, and thank you to you guys as well for tuning in to this first episode. Hope you guys enjoy it, and stay tuned in for the next edition of the Skillshare sessions. So, have a good day, and see you guys.